So it looks like we have enough board members for a quorum. So we'll go ahead and get started. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act and is open to the media and public. Notices were duly posted and the meeting was advertised in the Hunterdon County Democrat and Courier News. Formal action may be taken. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Here.
Carol Hampel.
Here.
Ron McKalen.
Here.
Carolyn Pogorski.
I saw her.
Carolyn Pogorski.
Did she drop off?
Andrew
No,
Saunders.
Still listed.
I'm here.
Thomas Wallace. Eric Swirling. Anna Shin. Laura Simon.
Here.
You are absent.
Jason, this is Carolyn Pogorski. I had to drop off for a second. My sound wasn't working, but I'm back.
Thank you.
Okay. Can we stand for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Simon. I'd like to begin tonight. Thank you and welcome, everyone. We have a special treat tonight where we're going to begin the superintendent's report with some bus driver recognitions. So I'd like to take a moment this evening to really recognize the extraordinary efforts of several members of our school staff, our school bus drivers. When the pandemic began last spring, our school closed our doors and implemented virtual learning. We recognized the importance of providing meals to students. When approached, our bus drivers were eager to help. The district provided the necessary PPE and protocols to ensure each driver and family were safe. We developed a list of homes to drop off the deliveries, and our meal delivery service had begun. Like many of our staff, our school bus drivers went above and beyond the call of duty to ensure that students had a meal. The bus drivers delivered meals during downpouring rain and power outages. They helped Mascios deliver food to food pantries for donation, and they ensured that even the hard-to-find locations such as apartments, rears of buildings, even barns, were found. The overall feedback from families was very positive. Their efforts have been noticed and acknowledged, and the following bus drivers were part of the team who participated in meal service: Beverly Betzko, Margaret Broinig, Ruby DiStefano, Jen Fish, Melissa Flannery, Debbie Hill, Barbara Hoff, Justine McAndrews, Russell Mobley, Joellen Omdahl, Linda Rad, David Rago, Jennifer Taylor, and David Whitesell. We want to thank these individuals for their courageous efforts. We really appreciate all that you've done and you continue to do for our students. So thank you so very, very much. I'll give you a quick clap, thumbs up for everything that you did for our students. Thank you so much. Marcy, I know that you are on the call, and Jason, I know you're here too. If there's anything that you'd like to add in recognition of our bus drivers, I'll turn it over to you. Feel free if you'd like. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but feel free to add anything.
I mean, I'll just say that I think the bus drivers, you know, their positive attitude, their willingness to go above and beyond, particularly during the early parts of the pandemic, they really, you know, put themselves out there. They made sure they were delivering the meals to families that really needed the assistance throughout the entire last school year from March onwards and this school year. You know, and it's tremendous work they're doing. And I know the feedback has been amazingly positive. So I echo everything Dr. Hart said.
Thank you, Jason. Marcy, anything to add?
Yes, I do. I completely ditto what Jason says. The bus drivers are such a valuable part of our team. They truly went above and beyond. And I appreciate them very much and what they did.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marcy. To all of our bus drivers here in our Reddington district, thank you so much for all of your efforts, not only last year, especially when the pandemic started and we were really in the world of the unknown, but as we continue over the course of this year. Thank you for everything that you do. Again, a thumbs up and a congratulations for all of your efforts. Thank you so much. At this time, one more round of applause. At this time, I'll move on to the reopening update for the board and for the public. So bus drivers, you're certainly welcome to stay. Marcy, you're welcome to stay. But I'll continue on with my superintendent's report. If you just give me a moment, I'll present my screen. Okay. All right. So I'm presenting the Reddington Ready reopening update. Doreen or Jason or Laura, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. As I present, just remember that you know, I'm not able to see you, but I know you can see me. So I'll go through this. Whatever comments we have during open to the public, we'll get to any questions or comments. So as I begin to talk about my update, in regard to school reopening, I just want to do a brief recap of what was discussed on August 18th at our last board meeting. So the governor had announced that according to Executive Order 175 on August 12th, he stated that districts may open fully virtual if the district can demonstrate that they were unable to satisfy the health and safety requirements or standards for in-person instruction. So while he issued this executive order opening all schools, he provided some flexibility for schools to go fully virtual if they were able to demonstrate that they couldn't satisfy health and safety requirements. Our document that we used in order to ensure that we satisfied those requirements was called the Road Back, and it was a document issued by the Department of Education. He did provide the updated health and safety requirements, which were in that Road Back document. He provided updated information regarding the Department of Health's recommendations for K-12 schools, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on in my presentation. And I wanted to review with you some of the safety measures that we've put in place even prior to the beginning of schools. So as you walk around our buildings, there's some things that as we reopen schools, the staff are noticing and parents and students will notice. So this is main offices and entry. So starting from left to right, you'll see that main offices have been outfitted with plexiglass dividers that separate the general public or office visitors from the secretarial staff. The middle picture shows, extra masks that we have for potential visitors to our building or even staff or students that may forget or have a mask mishap. And you see that the pens in this particular office have pens that are clean and pens that need to be sanitized so that folks don't reuse the same pen. The next picture again is a main office with plexiglass dividers between the any visitors or any staff that are walking in the main office and the secretarial staff. And the final picture, we have placed hand sanitizer stations throughout the district. Some are freestanding like this, and these are in main offices and entryways. Others are affixed to the wall, and those are near bathrooms. On our school bus, as students enter the school bus, you'll notice, I'm going to actually go on the right-hand side of the pictures now. As students enter the school bus, you'll notice that there's a large container of hand sanitizer, so students can get a quick hand sanitization if they need to as they walk on the bus. You'll also see that there are extra masks on the bus. So if a student had a mask mishap at the bus stop or needs an extra one, of course, we wouldn't want to leave a student on the side of the road. They have a mask that they could bring to school. The bus driver is not on this bus, but each bus driver has a medical gown and a face shield and a mask if needed. On the left-hand side, you'll see that there are wipes to wipe down the seats on the buses. And that orange contraption is one of our electrostatic cleaners that's used in between runs for the buses and after students are dismissed and in the middle of the day. So that's what we use to clean the buses. In classrooms, starting from left to right, you'll see that desks are spread 6 feet apart. The desks are also all facing forward in these two classrooms. One is an elementary classroom, the other is a middle school classroom. They all face the smartboard or the Epson projector. As you move all the way over to your far right in the pictures, you'll see that some of our ventilation units, we talked several board meetings ago about how we're looking to prevent air from going across surfaces. So we added, our maintenance team added a diverter so that the air flows up instead of across, and then the air can fall from a higher elevation or in the classroom down rather than pushing air across students in the classroom. The bottom picture on the far right-hand side, it's hard to see, but you could tell there's a plexiglass divider. So that's a classroom where the teacher and the student may be closer in proximity because maybe they're doing small group instruction, something individualized, a therapy or something along those lines. So we have a plexiglass divider that divides the student and the teacher in that particular picture. So those are some of our safety measures, and this is just a snapshot of some things that have happened around the district in regard to safety. There are marks on the floor. Each teacher has a plexiglass divider in his or her classroom for her desk that's portable, that can move around the room should she choose to move to a side table. So, we've put all of our safety measures in place and we feel confident about our safety. But as the governor's announcement came out after August 13th, several districts in our area began to close and opt for fully remote instruction. This allowed the staff use of the federal leave for childcare and or certain childcare accommodations. This also came in conjunction with medical accommodations or FMLA leaves requested due to COVID or other medical reasons from the staff. And adequate staffing became a concern for the district, right? We're opening schools. We were prepping to open schools in this era where we still have an ongoing pandemic, and having a critical mass of staff was really important to us to ensure the safety of all students. With the social distancing requirements and implementing the health and safety requirements, we felt that we needed to be fully staffed in order to truly open school. So with that, the public and the Board of Education knows about the letter and the announcement that came in August 21st, I believe it was, that opted for us to begin fully virtual with a target date of bringing all students back by October 19th. And since then, we have been looking at creative and innovative ways to really try to bring students back sooner rather than later. So as I walk you through some of the things that we've been doing in our reopening, I want us to consider and remember our goals and our principles. And that's really first and foremost to provide for those health and safety measures for staff and students as guided by the Department of Education and the Department of Health. To provide for a high quality educational program in a hybrid, which is the virtual and in-person format, and even fully virtual as we started the school year. And then provide those opportunities, particularly in the beginning of the school year, for students and staff to build relationships and develop a rapport in this unique setting. We were faced with lots of choices and lots of options about how we could potentially reopen schools, and we were continually drawn back to these goals and these principles that we had. So moving to a fully remote opening to schools, with the exception of self-contained special education programs, has allowed us to provide for some staff accommodations to work from home until schools in our region begin to reopen, alleviating the need for that federal leave. So we know that places like Hillsborough are going to open, within the next week or so. We know that there are other schools in our region like Flemington, Montgomery, Bridgewater, that are going to be opening soon. Knowing this, we know that that's going to alleviate our need for staff members to take FFCRA as other districts begin to reopen. We've hired subs. We have found other creative coverage solutions for our staffing needs. So the board will even notice that many substitutes appear on the agenda this evening to be appointed, provided that they get all of their paperwork processed. They hopefully can begin relatively soon. We're looking to develop alternative childcare solutions for staff in our buildings. So we looked to do this. We worked with the YMCA. We were able to offer a nice package for staff to be able to send the children to our YMCA program. We're reevaluating the medical leaves and future leaves for proper planning. So we recognize that while districts are going to reopen in the near future, that there still may be need for certain leaves for staff members, either medical or childcare. Well, now that we know that we might have some more long-term durations of leaves, we can properly plan to ensure that we have a critical mass of substitute coverage, long-term leave coverage, and even to ensure that we have additional floating substitutes should the need arise. And we're continuing the interview process for substitutes and other potential long-term leaves. And to put this in context, I want to make sure that the board and the public really understands, in an ordinary school year, right, without a pandemic, we're often looking for potential long-term substitutes because of, your ordinary childcare leaves, maternity leaves, medical leaves, things that occur over the course of a school year that require us to go out and look for substitutes. That has gotten even harder with the pandemic and with looking for the pool of substitutes, because the pool is very, very thin right now. We have a very low percentage of substitutes who are willing to come back out of the list that we have. Secondly, everyone has to realize that as we open schools, we are still educating students in a pandemic. So there may be a need for a staff member to quarantine, either one, because that staff member may be feeling symptoms on a particular day. That staff member may have traveled to a state that's on the quarantine list that wasn't on the quarantine list yesterday, because that is a changing list. The staff member may be identified as a close contact of someone who's been tested positive. These are all reasons, the numerous reasons why at any given moment, this very delicate solution of finding staff and substitutes for our building is just that. It is delicate because at any given moment, staff members could need to quarantine or stay home for any of those numbers of reasons, right? We don't want folks that are feeling ill or potentially having symptoms coming to school, staff and students included. So we're continuing to plan. We're scheduling a gradual reopening. This is our phase-in, and our focus will be to bring back students enrolled in younger grades due to their developmental needs first. So we began K-1 this week on September 14th. We're anticipating grades 2 and 3 in late September, early October. All grade levels, as they come back, will follow the hybrid A-B day schedule as we do the gradual reopening, and Wednesdays will remain fully virtual. All grades will continue to follow an early dismissal schedule too. And some teachers we may see are going to continue to work remotely, but we are looking for staff to be in the buildings in those classrooms for supervision and support while the classroom teacher or another teacher may be working remotely. So grades 4 through 8, we're pushing our timeline out a little bit more. We're going to continue with the gradual reopening. Our focus on grades 4 and 8, we are continuing to evaluate the staffing needs, and we're reviewing, again, creative ways as we bring our students back to school. Our 4-5 building and our 6-8 buildings have different schedules with different types of flexibilities for creative scheduling. So we're reviewing them now. Our projection is maybe early October to mid-October. Grades 4 through 8 will continue using the hybrid A-B schedule. They will also follow an early dismissal schedule. So we continue to make these plans. And we certainly appreciate the patience of our parents, our students, and the school community, because plans can really change. And the thing that I really need to highlight for the board and for the public is that there's still a big factor here, right? We focused a lot of factors on staffing, and we're working on our creative solutions with staffing. And we have our timeline, we have our projections for bringing students back to school. What we haven't yet really discussed, and I want to bring your attention to, is the Department of Health. and the fact that we are educating students in a pandemic. The Department of Health is monitoring COVID-19 with this surveillance document. This is a website that they're using that I check on a weekly basis. And what they're doing is they're providing a COVID-19 activity level report. We are in the Central West region, so Hunterdon, Somerset, and Mercer are grouped together as counties that are being monitored together for the outbreaks or any kind of activity level of COVID-19. The Department of Health is using a scale from low to moderate to high to very high. Low is green, moderate is yellow, high is orange, and very high is red. In the update that I've provided to the Board of Education tonight, there's a chart that talks about how schools should respond to potential close contact or positive cases based off of the high, moderate, the low, moderate, high, very high scale. So as we continue to reopen, every week I monitor the activity report with the Department of Health. You can see this was from August 29th, 2020. They just updated, and I want to say I have another report today. We are in yellow on August 29th. We remain in yellow even as late as last week. That's still okay. You know, moderate is fine. Schools in Hunterdon County are still open. We are still on track to open our schools. If for some reason we shift to high or even very high, we have to work with the Department of Health about the risks of continuing to have schools be open. By the time we reach very high, there may be a collaborative discussion with the Department of Health about going fully virtual again. There may be a mandate from the governor that all schools go fully virtual again. I want to point this out because we are doing our best, and we are promising the public that we are working on a phased-in approach, and that continues to be our goal. But this is one serious factor that may be very much outside of our control, which is what is the activity report for Hunterdon County. I was on a call today with other superintendents and with the Department of Health, and you know they continue to monitor the numbers of cases in Hunterdon County. There are days that go by where the numbers of positive cases are in the single digits. There are days that go by where they're in the double digits. So they continue to see how many cases per day Hunterdon County has. So what can we promise you? I know the public has gotten used to letters that I send out, occasional on Fridays, but we will communicate the best we can. Our plans may very well need to be flexible. We recognize that this fluctuation of the situation is frequent, that it requires clear communication. We recognize that it can often be frustrating, and we know that parents and staff members and everyone is really trying to plan the best they can around AB schedules and early dismissal schedules, but there's a level of fluctuation that may very well occur. So as the district plans for our gradual reopening, and as we have in the past, we will continue to provide our school community with periodic updates and as many communications as we possibly can once the communication becomes clear and our path becomes very clear. So I want to say thank you. I want to open up to the Board of Education. I'm going to stop sharing my screen in a moment, open up to the board for questions, and I can certainly go back to the presentation if need be. So I'm going to stop sharing and escape. And before I move on to Executive Order 177, Election Day, does the board have anything that they wish me to review or go back to in the presentation?
Dr. Hart, this is
Yes.
Carolyn. It actually surprised me a little bit that our area was in moderate, considering the rest of the state was low. I always thought that Hunterdon especially was more on the lower side of the scale. Can you talk a little bit more about why we're moderate and whether or not, it has anything to do with other areas that we're being grouped with that's, impacting Hunterdon negatively, maybe in that regard?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to give you any statistics or metrics about how Hunterdon compares to Somerset or Mercer counties, because in truth, I haven't monitored Somerset or Mercer counties, and I don't know what their rate of transmission is. I don't know what their rate of positive cases are. What I can say is our region grouping, based off of my conversations with the Department of Health, is the same region grouping that the DOH uses when it comes to surveillance of just ordinary flu, cold and flu season or other pandemics. So I don't think that I don't think, right, and I'm kind of speaking for the Department of Health, and what my understanding has been is they're using a very similar metric and a very similar regional profile that they've used for any other previous pandemic, swine flu, those things, as well as just ordinary seasonal flu. Do I suspect that other regions, other counties would have an impact on our region as a whole? Potentially, but I don't know the specific numbers in Mercer or Somerset County to be able to say that, but I do know that the Department of Health is using similar metrics that they've used in the past. So that's a partial answer for you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So finally, on my superintendent's report, I just want to point out to the board, Executive Order 177 was also signed by the governor, where he orders all public primary and secondary schools to be closed for in-person instruction on November 3rd. And this is to allow authorities in charge of the board of elections, or in charge of elections, the opportunity to use school buildings as polling places. So it is our obligation, according to this executive order, to allow the Board of Elections to use our buildings for a polling place. I can tell you we have been approached by the Board of Elections here in Hunterdon County and here in Reddington to use Hollenbrook School's cafeteria. So while I don't think this requires a calendar update, because we can do virtual learning on November 3rd, the schools will be closed and we will be doing a virtual learning day on November 3rd, regardless of what our status is. Tuesdays are generally A days, but that day will be a virtual learning day for all students, and buildings will be closed for staff. So that's just a quick update for the board on elections. So Mrs. Simon, I'll turn it back over to you unless the board has any questions for me.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
We are open to the public, limited to action items on the agenda. There, I thought I saw a comment.
There's one comment right now from Becky Zans. Hunterdon has other schools open in person on hybrid schedule days. Why can't we move faster to open the hybrid program in Reddington for all grades?
We are moving as fast as we can. We have added subs to our list today. We are looking at, remember, go back to our principals. We are looking at doing the best as quickly as we possibly can to try to reopen. Meetings with principals, meeting with staff members are happening to ensure that we understand everyone's needs and that we can open as quickly as possible. It's not, other districts are open. Yes, I understand that. And we are working on it. We are doing the best we can. We're doing it as quickly as we possibly can. But we still have to evaluate our staffing needs.
Trish Wallace asked for the floor. Just remember to unmute yourself, please.
Hi, hopefully you can hear me. This is Trish Wallace. So hi to the Board of Education, everyone on the call, and Dr. Hart, nice to see you in person. I wanted to introduce myself. I am, with my husband, a parent of 2 kids in the Reddington School District. Myself, I'm talking on behalf of many on this call, parents that have concerns with the current virtual environment, many offline as well. We have collaborated since the end of August on the topic of the virtual environment and our concerns that we have for our children in the community of only having that virtual option. We have come together with some concerns that we shared with you via letter earlier today, but most importantly, with some ideas that we've taken some time to do some brainstorming to see how we can help, right? We understand that obviously everyone's in a difficult position right now. The parents, the BOE, the superintendent, the kids, most importantly, with the situation of learning right now only being a virtual option for the most part. And we wanted to see if we could collaborate together and come up with some ideas to share with you, the BOE and the Dr. Hart, to see if you can help organize any of those ideas to make them, a viable solution where some seem feasible. So we've shared the details. I know that this forum doesn't allow for a lot of time to go through those details, but some of the shortly, just some of the concerns you've heard before with the current virtual environment is around, a lot of it being put on the parents, the community, to supplement the learning that the kids are struggling with some gaps in just the nature of learning online only. Some parents are working full time, as you know, and don't have a lot of availability to help. Some parents are having to find supplemental daycare to try to get their kids in to learn with tutors, etc. Some of we'll let you go, obviously, in detail, Dr. Hart and the BOE, and in the details that we shared with you. And then just in some of our concerns. And then in some of the ideas that we had around, opening up, I'm sure some that you may have thought about in some form already, but, just some ideas on how we can ensure that in-person teachers can be fully utilized, maybe coming up with, some in-person classes per grade with those teachers that are available in person and those higher risk or those that are not comfortable working from home with the virtual students. The idea that you mentioned earlier is great about the YMCA and being able to offer those teachers with some child care issues a solution, right, to have their kids stay at the YMCA. One of the things I didn't mention was on top of the letter with some of the concerns that some of the parents have and some of the ideas to resolve and giving an in-person option for our kids is a petition that about 160 people have signed around the idea of opening our schools sooner than later. And we can appreciate the hybrid option, right? Obviously, it was great that we're heading in the right direction with kindergarten and first grade having that option starting this week. We're just looking to be able to move in the current situation as fast as possible and see what we can do, the parents, to help our kids get that in-person learning as soon as possible. So what we wanted to do today is just come out of this meeting with a commitment from the BOE and Dr. Hart on, a target date that maybe we can meet in a more smaller forum to go through some of the ideas that we had, some of the concerns that are still sitting every day with us as we sit in this virtual environment. In a smaller forum, maybe with a subset of BOE members, with Dr. Hart, with myself, and some from the group that have come together that are here on this call to go through in detail and be able to make some progress or help make some more progress quickly to open our schools. So that's what I wanted to share today, and wanted to see Dr. Hart if, I know right now on the spot to come up with a date, right? But if you could commit to maybe coming back to me and I can share with the group or however you see fit, a date that we could come together in a smaller forum to kind of, talk a little bit more details on some of the ideas that we had and concerns.
Thanks, Mrs. Wallace. Me and the board got your letter today. We'll definitely go through it. It was great to talk with you yesterday. I know that it's something that I definitely want to review in more detail, and I'll be in touch with you as soon as I can with ways that you can help, and with anything that maybe we can glean from your letter that came today. Those of you who are on the call, you can help. If you have 60 college credits or a teaching certificate, please contact Lisa DiTomaso, even Doreen Harris in my office. We are seeking applications for substitute teachers. This is not only for some of the staffing that is developed as a result of COVID, but we are still trying to bolster our substitute list. We've had sub job fairs over the course of the past couple of years. Remember, this is a delicate situation. As staff members return, as students return, there may be the need for a staff member or students to quarantine. We're going to need staff members and substitutes if we're going to continue to keep schools running. We're going to need staff to be in our buildings. So substitutes are really important right now. So if that's my shout out to everybody. Another notice will come tomorrow. We are still seeking subs. We have a great group tonight on our board agenda for approval, but substitutes would be great. And Mrs. Wallace will continue to dialogue, and I'll be in touch with you. How's that sound? Thank you.
Thank you for that. There were other comments in the meantime. Robin?
Next one came in. Glad to see that schools will reopen with an early dismissal schedule. I think this avoids many potential areas of difficulty. The comment from Becky Zenz, I think, in really toward Tricia Wallace, looking for the details of what she had shared with the Board of Ed, but we don't have time for all of that at the moment. Will parents be given the chance to change their transportation choices now that we're moving to an early dismissal schedule? Many have conflicts with being able to pick up their children from other schools, etc.
Can I just answer that real quick, Robin? If anybody has a question or concern about transportation, they can always call the transportation office and see if we can make a change. If need be, I mean, that can change routes, but I know that we've designed our routes to try to make those accommodations if there are changes in need. So please contact transportation.
If parents have to find childcare, what about staff in schools? Leave for childcare under COVID rules is no longer really an option. Are they asking about staff for childcare? Maybe
Yeah,
Ms. can
like staff, like we have our YMCA staffed.
Yeah.
Yeah. To expedite hiring, there's always the ability for me to talk with the personnel committee about substitutes, so we can continue to move things forward. I've been asked this question a lot, like how many teachers do you need to open schools, right? Like, well, we need all of them, right? Like that's what we need. Remember, and I'll say it again, this is a delicate situation. We have in grades K and 1 now, we have solved, we've solved a lot of the issues to ensure that we have a certificated staff member in the school with a teacher, while the teacher can potentially work remotely. But at the same time, we have to remember that teachers and staff members have the ability to use sick days, personal days, family illness days at any given point during the school year, which requires substitutes. So yes, we're trying, all of the leaves that we know about right now, we are trying to cover. And that's our gradual reopening. We're also both at the same time adding to our sub list to make sure that we have a critical mass of substitutes that can be called at any given moment should a group of teachers need to quarantine, feel symptoms, or are unable for some other reason to come to school. So I'm not trying to be evasive or cagey. I just can't give you a number, because we are doing, with each grade level band, we are solving each teaching, issue individually and creatively finding staff for each building. But then we also really need to make sure that we have floating substitutes to take over classes if need be over the course of a day or any given day if the teacher needs to call out in the morning.
It sort of goes with the next question. Plans to hire subs full-time to be rotated to schools on an as-needed basis.
There are, in ASOP right now, there are 2 positions in each building that are available for everyday use of anybody that wants a substitute job to be a floater sub in those buildings every day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So, we are looking to do that. Yes.
Regarding the November schedule, if we are back in school, has consideration been given to the Group B kids who might miss out on 2 weeks of Thursday, Fridays?
Yes. Yep. Once we get back, because there's a lot of Thursdays and Fridays off, remember those Wednesday virtual days were supposed to be makeup days for any missed days. So we will, once we're back, we'll publish another schedule of how those Wednesdays will fall on any shortened weeks.
Again, once we're back to school, can some consideration be given for a solution for students to leave personal items for their in-person days in their classrooms, you know, so as not to cart things back and forth from home to classroom?
I can certainly talk to the principals about that. You know, I know that they're bringing Chromebooks back and forth, which is adding to the backpack load. But if that's something, if there are other things, books or other materials that they need to bring back and forth, I mean, I know that they're bringing things like a towel to sit on when they go outside to have snack or just to take a snack break, you know, those kinds of things. So, yeah, we can look at that.
Anyway, we can send back only the grades that have enough staffing and continue doing so on a rolling basis until all grades are fully staffed and back. That seems to be kind of the plan now. We're just going in order of grade level.
Right.
Ms. Wallace saying, your proposal to keep in touch sounds great. Looking forward to feedback from the BOE.
Sounds good.
Any consideration being given for the full-time substitutes to be offered any type of benefits, even though they aren't hired as permanent employees? Incentive, I'm supposing.
It's certainly something to consider. And it's something that Jason and I have talked about. And we know that long-term subs do become eligible for benefits after a certain amount of time. Again, it's something we can consider. Absolutely. You know, there's also a balance here, right? We're certainly keeping the health and safety of our students and our educational program as our top priority. There are also fiscal balances that we have to manage here, which are, you know, the budget that we set out at the beginning of the school year and trying to achieve the goals that were set out in that budget, while also, you know, continuing our instructional program too. So, yeah.
Is consideration being given to return to school fully in a 4 or 5 day schedule after the rollout of hybrid, especially for the youngest learners? What's the barrier to reopening full time? Is it staffing or class size?
So the barrier to, so full-time 5 days a week, the barrier to reopening that is class size. And I go back to the road back document, which talks about having students be 6 feet apart to the maximum extent practical. So if we bring back all students in classes, we're talking about class sizes of 20, 22, you know, whatever the class size is, as opposed to the class of 10 or 11, right? That's if we did that. Now, remember, when it comes to, we are still educating students in a pandemic. So when it comes to having full classes, 5 days a week of all students in the class, and we can't maintain 6 feet, should there be a positive case in that particular class, we're talking about much more detailed contact tracing. We're talking about potentially a quarantine of that entire class and that teacher for 2 weeks, and looking at what other potential contact tracing we might need to do throughout the rest of the building. So what part of our goals were with the hybrid model is reducing close contact, making class sizes real small. So should there be a positive case, it would make contact tracing more feasible, and it would make it actually more practical for us to continue our instructional program because we have students 6 feet apart. If they're not 6 feet apart, our conversation just today with the Department of Health suggests to me that if we're bringing back all students all the time, the Department of Health would probably make a recommendation to quarantine the entire class. If they are 6 feet apart, we can do better contact tracing and not quarantine everybody. It gives us more success at having more of a continuous program rather than having this intermittent quarantine for 2 weeks, then we're back, and then maybe we have to quarantine again. So the physical and time distance that we put between students that are meeting in person serves a purpose, and that purpose is the safety, so that should there be a positive case, we can still maintain some continuity of instruction and keep students safe.
2 questions regarding the special ed population. Has there been any discussion surrounding students with IEPs to return on a more hybrid model due to their being a vulnerable population?
Mrs. Beagle and I have had those discussions, so the answer to those discussions is yes. It is something that we are looking into, but I want to kindly ask for the patience of the public and the parent community. We just brought back K-1 on our hybrid model yesterday. We are looking to bring back all students in grades 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 sooner rather than later, right? That's our goal. We're looking to do this quickly. We are certainly considering special populations. We are looking at what 5 days a week looks like. We are looking at when we can do full days rather than early dismissal days. Trust me, the administrative team has had these conversations. I've had these conversations. We are looking at what our next goalpost will be, but I kindly ask for your patience, because we are on the step where we're bringing back grades K-1. We're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and bringing them back sooner rather than later. And then we have to look at some of those special populations. So it's certainly under consideration. Mrs. Beagle and I met about it today, and we have some plans, to do those openings.
Similar comments on special ed for K and 1 in particular.
Yeah, agreed, right? That this hybrid model is, this is not what learning is or learning should be. I mean, we all share the same goal, and we want students back full-time in person as much as possible. Believe me, we do. I think we all share the same goal. Thank you to all the teachers. They're doing an amazing job. They're doing awesome. The teachers are really working hard. Yes. There's another comment about bringing kindergarten back 5 days a week. Yes, I understand. Their developmental needs are such that virtual learning is not optimal. I know that. We are working to do the best that we can sooner rather than later.
And then grading, pass, fail, or regular grading scale.
So we started those conversations as administrators. I know that we are, to the best that we can as the year gets underway, following as closely as possible the curriculum documents and doing assessments, according to our curriculum plan. So some of our initial conversations talk about having a grading scale, but we need to see when we start doing assessments and we start really getting further into the curriculum as the weeks go on about how accurately the teachers can do grading on our traditional grading scales.
As far as the kind of questions on how kindergarten and first grade has been operating for our 2 days back, any specifics should probably be directed to Dr. Hart, and he'll go over those with you specifically.
Just remember, we're offering a lot of flexibility to parents also. The reason why we did the AB schedule was to make sure that regardless of the parent need on a monthly basis, we can start swapping out students who are virtual that may want to come back. So while right now today, right, there may be 10 virtual students in that particular class, that can change. So part of our goal with the hybrid model was to ensure that we had room to allow virtual students back according to the AB schedule. If we bring in 10 or 11 students full time, then that doesn't really leave a whole lot of room for other students who are virtual to then come back on October 1st or then on November 1st. So the more we do that, the more inconsistency we create with allowing parents the flexibility to opt back in. But thanks, Robin. Yeah, any specific questions, I'm happy to take them. I know the building principals would be able to talk with parents too, so certainly reach out.
There's a question about the operation of private schools, but unless we know of a specific private school to be able to compare it to ours, I'm not really sure we can make a very good, a very good guesstimate as to how they're able to operate that way. We just don't have the specifics of their learning environment. With comments about kindergarten and first grade, especially special ed, it's being asked to consider recorded lessons for parents, or recorded materials maybe even for parents to review later.
Yeah, so we have some, we are not recording lessons because we want students to log into live instruction because this is school, right? The virtual learning is school. We want to make sure that participation and attendance is what we want it to be for an ordinary school day, students logging in at specific times. Our math program has a litany of online materials, including videos, that we can help parents with, and we have purchased for reading, writing, and phonics the units of study recorded lessons from Teachers College that I've talked to at least one building principal earlier today, that we can certainly post as supplementary materials for students to go back and review if for some reason they missed the reading, writing, or phonics lesson that day. So we do have some available that we can do.
Somebody actually brought up the comment of privacy and safety for recorded lessons as well. And then a return to the private schools. They just named a couple. Again, we don't know of their specifics at the moment, even with names. Can't speak to their numbers in classes or enrollment or any of that at the moment. We had heard Dr. Hart say the reason classes are not recorded is to have students attend in person. Yeah, that was just stressed. The question and point was for the parents, not the students, for parents that work all day, want to review classes. So again, the materials that Dr. Hart spoke of would be good for a review afterward. Someone answered. Believe the issue is we don't have the staffing. Has Dr. Hart joined any Zoom meetings to see firsthand how virtual classes are actually going?
I have been in all of the buildings, in all the classrooms. I haven't joined from my office. I haven't joined the Zoom meetings, but from the building, doing my walkthroughs, I have sat and said hello to a lot of students on the Zoom meetings. I have checked in with virtually all of the teachers and been around the buildings. I know the principals are in Zoom meetings. So the administrative team is around and in on Zoom meetings, checking in on students. So have I joined them? No. Have I been in, I would like to say every classroom and doing my ordinary walkthroughs at the beginning of the year? Yeah. Saying hello to teachers and students and checking in.
And repeats of comments from before. I think that is the end. We're going to come to another session soon.
Okay. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you so much, Robin. Correspondence. Since our last meeting, we had 8 correspondence, mostly centered around the virtual school and returning to school. Administrative reports. Can I get a motion to adopt 1.01?
So moved, Ray.
Second, Anna.
Thank you. Are there any questions on that? That was the reopening. Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hampel,
Yes.
Rob McCallan,
Yes.
Callan Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swerling, Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes. The minutes. Can I get a motion to adopt 2.01 to 2.02, please?
So moved. Anna?
Seconded,
Ray.
Carolyn.
Ray. Are there any updates that are needed on the minutes? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Abstain?
Carol McKalen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Hannah Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passed.
Finance and facilities. Can I get a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.09?
So moved, Ray.
Second, Anna?
Thank you. We have a report.
Yes. I'm just going to kind of summarize. It's posted up on the agenda items. So the committee met on Tuesday, September 8th. We started with the 2021 capital projects. The committee received an update about the the TBS boiler project. The engineer identified 4 distributors that have the materials needed in stock, and those supplies have been received. So the laborers have been back on site, and we're able to obtain more specific information on the cause of the wrong boilers being delivered. And the result, Unitip is moving forward the more cost-effective way to tie the boilers suggested by the architects. Therefore, we do not need change order number 1. The HBS roof project is substantially complete, and the remaining work entails punch list items. And we've mentioned this before. Securing our Children's Future Bond Act is postponed by the state. The state has not sold the bonds that will allow for the grant funds. The LED lighting project at White House and Three Bridges is completed. As I note, I did attend a board tour. Actually, it's very bright. You can tell such a big difference between the LED lights and the normal incandescent lights. The other maintenance and IT summer projects have substantially been complete according to the priority list. There's a couple of things that's been postponed from the tech side is digital display and POTS installations. The emergency walkway work for RMS 500 wing has been postponed just from all the code extra additional work. Three Bridges entrance doors have been delivered and waiting installation. The RMS well E. coli update. The district is proceeding with the 4-log UV filtration system as approved by the committee. Mr. Boehm is continuing to work with the county office in hopes of proceeding as an emergency contract as opposed to an emergent project which requires commissioner approval in hopes of expediting. We can't proceed with any. We have that approval, and despite the project technically requiring a bid greater than $44,000, we are obtaining 2 formal quotes from contractors in case we are approved to proceed with an emergency contract. Emergency contracts waive the bid requirement, and the district has 120 days from July 13th to complete all remediation per the NJDEP mandate. We discussed reopening. There are currently 69 students receiving school lunches during the virtual learning. These lunches are delivered to the student's home. The committee discussed the option of discounting the preschool tuition, as previously mentioned by Dr. Hart, and the committee agreed to a 25% tuition reduction. Most surrounding districts are providing that discount, or a discount. And the committee was agreeable to providing the staff a YMCA at a daily rate of $10, basically. For budget updates, Mr. Bowen provided a update for potential COVID-19 funding from Digital Divide Grant and FEMA. Unfortunately, these funds are becoming increasingly difficult to receive, which could be a detriment to the district's budget. Mr. Bowen's trying to expedite the grant requests, and then hopefully we can obtain those funds as originally planned. There's a list. We looked at a list of additional costs related to COVID-19. Right now, those current costs are approximately $93,000. Mr. Bowen continues to monitor the list, and most of the items obviously were not budgeted during the budget process. The largest unknown amount that is the concern right now is long-term substitutes needed to fulfill staff accommodations. Good news was there's no further change in the district's state aid funding amount. However, the state has delayed September payment until October. Currently, we are okay with cash flows, though. For legislation and COVID-19 impact, there's really been no new laws since the last meeting. So most of the current laws are still in effect. For the audit, there's no concerns with the preliminary results. The reserve formulas will allow the district to replenish reserve accounts as a result of various cost savings. And the finance and bills lists are normal in nature tonight, other than you'll see the RMS well emergency contract and SSP architects resolutions. Committee's recommending approval for all, and the next meeting is planned for October 7th. And that's it. Sorry it took so long.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda items? Not hearing any, can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Ron McCallan,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon,
Yes.
passes.
Education technology. Can I get a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.03, please?
So moved, Anna?
Second, Carol.
Carol, not Carolyn, right?
Right. Sorry.
Okay, we have a committee report.
Yes. So we met on September 9th. The first item was curriculum revision, so I'm going to go through more of the highlights. Basically, they were CUSAC guideline recommendations. So social studies, grades 1 and 2, very standard updates to assessments, accommodations, modifications. Social studies, grades 5 and 8, same. They added Holocaust, genocide, education were updated and clearly labeled. And lessons regarding the contributions of African Americans are more clearly labeled in 5th grade. And lessons regarding slavery, the slave trade, and vestiges of slavery were updated in 8th grade. Chinese grade 6 and 7, French grade 6 and 8, mostly assessments, condensed purpose and overview. ELA, kindergarten and grade 1, accommodations, modifications, assessments, that's the usual. And we updated the units of study for phonics information and pacing to the reading units. Math grades 1, 3, 3 honors, 4 and 5, the assessments were broken out. Big change there was advanced math was removed from the 4th grade curriculum. Health and PE, K through 8, updated with 21st century skills. Science grades K through 5, interdisciplinary connections at the end of the units, just updated to the 2021 standards to include climate change. Same for grade 6 to 8, climate change. School counseling updated their programs to all of the standards, HIB, CA, SEL, ACA, updated to the school district's mission, the New Jersey core curriculum content, and the multi-tiered system of support for social and emotional learning that includes all staff, students, and parents, including academic development, career development, and personal social development. So that is a very high level of the curriculum documents, which are hundreds of pages. School reopening, as you know, a gradual reopening, getting the younger students in first based on their developmental needs. Professional development for 2020-2021 is going to focus on virtual learning and technology training, and the goals were updated to reflect our strategic goals. mentoring plan was updated with information in compliance with CUSAC. And new books in the classrooms, which you'll see on the agenda, are recommended for approval by the committee. And we had a Parent Academy on September 8th, focusing on technology. There were approximately 150 attendees at that academy, and the next one is planned for January 26th, topic to be determined. Lastly, our security filtering software we replaced securely with GoGuardian. The thing that we do not have going yet is the classroom management feature, because that is not configured for remote access. The GoGuardian beacon, which will monitor against searches for self-harm, we're working on it. It's not yet implemented. Our next meeting will be Friday, October 9th at 8:30 a.m.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda items for EdTech?
I guess a comment on, it encompasses 4.01 as well as 4.03. As we're sort of introducing new levels of controversial topics, I want to just make sure that they really get embedded into the curriculum and aren't necessarily just put on a bookshelf somewhere. So some of the things that have been implemented by the state, different parts of the curriculum, whether it's updating our slavery curriculum or LGBTQ being really more prominent within our curriculum. I just want to caution us that it should definitely be, a taught concept and not just something that we include just on a cursory level.
Are there any other comments or questions on the agenda items or the minutes? Not hearing any, can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hempel,
Yes.
John McEwen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Anna Shen,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes. Personnel. Can I get a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.15?
So moved, Anna?
Second, Ray.
Thank you. We have a committee report.
Yes, we do. The committee met on September 8th. We discussed staffing, enrollment, willows, and team leaders, job description revisions, personnel matters. Our agenda items are typical new hires, athletic coordinator, yearbook, and student council. And our next meeting is October 7th at 10 a.m.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda items? Not hearing any, can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hempel,
Yes.
Rob McCallan,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Anna Shen,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes. Communication. Can I get a motion to adopt one, please?
So moved, Anna?
Second, Ray.
Thank you. I didn't see minutes.
Meeting is on Monday.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or are there any questions on the second read for those policies? Not hearing any, can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Rob McEwen, Robin, Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes, for that. I couldn't unmute.
Carolyn,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Unfinished business, is there anything, did anybody register yet with the board members? Did anybody register? No? It's online. You don't have to go anywhere.
Register for what?
The workshop in October.
Oh, I did not.
It's the easiest year to do it if you're gonna do it.
And what's the deadline?
I don't know.
We have a
Jason?
group registration already in there. We can revoke it. There is a date sometime between now and the next board meeting when, if people do not sign up, we can get a full refund. But after that date, we can't. So just let me know between now and the next board meeting. Please.
Okay. Any new business from the board?
Not really old business, but just a thank you to all of the people who volunteered to sub to help get our kids back in school. That's really what it boils down to, is that we need more people. So that means a lot. Thank you.
True. Is there anything else that you need to bring up? All right, we are now open to the public. Anything on or off the agenda? Robin, are you ready?
Yep, we got a couple more.
Okay.
Discussion on how to improve virtual technology platform with, all of its lovely cutouts and echoes and choppy freezing everything, which has been across the state of New Jersey. So
I'll say yes. The issues are Zoom and Google related. They're across the state. I think they're across the country. We are swapping out devices if need be. We have put in an order for new devices in case it's a device issue. But remember, there's also supply chain issues when we're ordering devices. We have Chromebooks, we have iPads, we have devices on their way. It's just a matter of the supply chain. We can't get them here fast enough. And tomorrow in the Wednesday blast, there will be an update that's going to be pushed out for parents, where we pushed out one already today for all 1,500 Chromebooks that are out there being used in the district by students. There's going to be another one that we push out tomorrow that parents can do for Chromebooks if they're experiencing issues at home. So our tech team did some data analysis with the update, and the update that we're able to push out tomorrow solves a lot of the issues with calls being dropped and things like that we know that folks are experiencing. But right now we continue to problem solve and work out the kinks, and our tech team has been as responsive as they can be.
Along that same lines, though, Comcast has been having a major problem in this area for about 2 weeks. So it's been intermittent, it's been choppy, it's been glitchy. So
yeah, it's overall, and I said this last week when we had the Parent Academy. There are some things that are ordinary September getting to know you routines, protocols that teachers put in place naturally every year in their classroom. And that continues to happen. This year is very different than any other school year, but there's a lot of work that's going into just the teachers setting up their routines in their classrooms. And part of that is the virtual learning component. And, there's a ton of internet issues and device issues that may be out of our control. Comcast is having issues. Zoom and Google had issues. So we're pushing out updates. They are pushing out updates. And we are working on troubleshooting problems as they arise. So thank you. Thanks for your patience, everybody. We're working on it. We are.
State testing, why was it canceled in the spring, and do we know a plan for this year?
You'd have to ask the Department of Education why it was canceled. I imagine because we were in a pandemic and students were learning virtually, there was really no way to administer the test while students were home. You know, there are strict testing protocols from the state when it comes to state testing. I have not received any information about whether or not we are doing it from the Department of Education yet. I don't know what the spring holds as far as state testing. There's been no communication.
Yeah, and from my end, in my own district last year, there was a big talk of security. There was no way they could do the tests last spring and keep them as secure as they usually do.
I mean, the security is pretty tight, really tight on the tests. Like there's just no way to administer at home. So.
Resource room pullout teachers are teaching 2 grades at once. Is there a plan to address this?
Mrs. Beagle, jump in here, but I think that is a common occurrence with resource rooms. They can be multi-grade resource rooms as long as the teacher develops goals and objectives and instructional programs that meet the student's IEP.
Correct, and I will jump in. And yes, as per both state and federal law, we are allowed to have multi-grades. And typically in those classrooms, the students have very individualized goals and objectives so that the teacher is able to meet their needs in a 2-grade, 3-grade resource room.
Robin and Dr. Hart, it's Kevin Meyer, and if possible, I'd like to make a comment as well.
Yeah, go for it. I'm at the end of the questions.
Yeah, we're open.
I just want to take this opportunity to first and foremost really thank our students, because right now we're asking our students to be more resilient than we ever have before and more flexible than we ever have before. And I know what I'm seeing and what other teachers are seeing is really some amazing things out of our students. So I want to thank them first and foremost. I also want to thank the board and our community members and our parents. I know everyone is struggling right now to adjust to things, to accept things that they may not be able to control. I think that's happening on a daily basis, almost minute by minute for most of us. And I think everyone is doing a great job with it. I also want to thank my colleagues and fellow teachers out there who are still doing the very best job that they can to educate the students that are in their classrooms, and for many of them, their own students at home, because their home districts are in similar situations. Everyone is trying to do their best, and we just have to remember that we're in this together. We have plans in place. We planned all summer long, and we will continue to do our best. So thank you, everyone, for patience and understanding as we continue to make sure that we provide the best that we can for Readington students, because we care about them deeply. So thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Any more comments?
That's all I have.
That's it. Okay. Well, that's it until we go into executive session. I'd like to thank all the people who, wrote chats in. I felt it was very productive. Hopefully you had answers to your questions. If there's specific questions pertaining to your school, feel free to reach out to your principal. But continue to, email the board and Dr. Hart with any additional questions that arise, because this is an ever-changing situation that we're in. And thank you, Dr. Hart, for getting the kids back in, the little guys. And hopefully we'll continue to make progress and we don't have any more hiccups, where the numbers jump and, because other districts, I'm sure you heard about Chatham, they had a good number due to parties. And I think that's some of the reason that Hunterdon numbers had jumped, because of a few parties that were around. So let's hope for the best, and we'll continue chugging along. So can I get a motion to adjourn to executive session in accordance with the Sunshine Law to discuss a legal matter for approximately 30 minutes, at which time the board expects to return to public session where no action will be taken. The matters discussed will be made public if and when the circumstances requiring confidentiality no longer exist. However, it is not presently known when such circumstances will exist. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Ray.
Second, Anna.
Thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Carol Hample,
Yes.
Bob McKalen,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Anna Shin,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Bye, everybody. See you in executive. It's the other, you should have the invitation and the other link. Thank you.
Bye.